All right, perfect. So I want to go over again previous spring enrollment video a little bit, but I mainly also want to look at some CPI right here. So looking at the action. Now, I hope this is not too confusing. So if the recording is short for the spring enrollment extra live stream, then feel free, or well, then it is what it is currently. We can go over it later on as well. And if you do have any questions regarding the previous video, then please do let me know and we can go over that as well. So one question in the video section, or in the video section for the Discord right there, I will go over that later on as well. So essentially what we went over, and which is a huge part, I think a lot of people are already familiar with flood, odd, lot. If you're not, then, well, this was your introduction. And essentially that's how we dissect an order flow lag. That's something, if you watch the YouTube videos, I've never mentioned that because I never go over order flow. And order flow in itself, again, is that swing high with a fair value gap in the lag, etc. So for example, this is also an order flow lag right there. Now an order flow lag, we can dissect that with a flood, first line of defense, overlapping defense, and also the last line of defense. Now, what usually is the case, or well, usually what just is the case, is the first line of defense is the first premium rate that we run into in this case. So in this case, it's this fair value gap. We can see that it's a small detail, but we run into the fair value gap first right there. I would also count this low as the overlapping defense right there. If we truly want to take the overlapping defense of the lag itself, then we can still argue that this right there is the overlapping defense. Now, if we want to take the last line of defense, then we have this high right there. But as you may already know, of course, or as you may already have guessed as well, then if we want to now look for a short trade, will we wait for all those premium rates and will we wait for that high to be disrespected before we look for any shorts on the dollar? I would argue no. That is just, that's way too long to wait for that. And that is, well, essentially, if we want to be bullish right here, then we're going to be wrong for a very long time, even if we already create bullish for value, etc. going into that. So that is why if we have an order flow lag, this lot right there, that last line of defense is not a last line of defense that I'm looking to trade off of. Because in an order flow lag, the low or the high, depending on if you're looking at a bearish order flow lag or a bullish order flow lag, should already hold. So it's not necessarily something that I'm looking to trade off of. It's more so as a target. Then after, if we create something we'll go over later on in the spring enrollment, unusual context. And unusual context is when we do the opposite of what we expect order flow to do. That creates, when we expect something order flow to do and it does it, that creates usual context. So for example, usual context is when we come into these overlapping defenses, fair value gap to continue lower off of that, and we just continue lower. That creates the usual context. No sound? Ay. All right, so here we are again. Messes up my story always a little bit. Lose my train of thought. But where was I? I was talking about the last line of defense, the all that stuff. So essentially, where was I actually? I was yeah, well, let me start over a little bit. I was talking about this last line of defense in an order flow lag right there. And when we have an order flow lag, we also expect an order flow lag to hold. So not necessarily to get swept. Because to breach all the fair value gaps right there, to then sweep that high right there, to then continue lower, this is very unlikely of price to do. Then I would almost expect higher prices instead if we are going to continue, going to do anything right there. So I was talking about the, yeah, that's it. I was talking about the usual context and unusual context. So we have something called usual context, which is just an order flow lag continuing lower, essentially. Following through, creating a new order flow lag lower, that creates unusual context right there. Unusual context is when we are not respecting that order flow lag and we all of a sudden create that higher prices right there. That creates unusual context because it's unusual of what we expected. Sound gone again.